This is the Garmin Epix, and this is the Garmin Epix Pro. Garmin Epix, Garmin Epix Pro. Epix, Epix Pro. It's confusing, but I can explain. You see, today Garmin is announcing two new updates to their top-of-the-line, high-performance GPS smartwatches. There's now a Pro edition of the Fenix Series 7 and a Pro edition of this, the Garmin Epix Pro. And the new Epix Pro now comes in 3 sizes. It has a brand new optical heart rate monitor, and lo and behold, it has a built-in flashlight hidden right off the front lip of the watch. And in addition to those hardware updates, we also have a few new exciting software features to explore. And Garmin's done all of this without increasing the price tag. Okay, real quickly, if you are in a hurry and you just want a super fast summary of the changes that were made to this watch, the new Epix Pro now comes in 3 sizes, and it has this fantastically useful built-in flashlight on all 3 sizes. And then again, the other piece that's new here is it has a new optical heart rate monitor that I'd say is slightly improved. Hard to say exactly. Again, we'll dive into a ton more detail about this watch, as well as some of the software updates, but those are the basics for what's changed with the Epix Pro. Now, if you are buying this new Epix Pro, you do have those 3 sizes to choose from. So the smaller edition, that's a 42mm watch, and then this, the 47mm watch, and a 51mm watch. So that's a 1.2-inch screen, a 1.3-inch screen, and a 1.4-inch screen. I only have the 47mm option to show you guys, and that's what I'll be showing throughout this video. But here's what the 42mm Fenix 7 Pro looks like on my tiny but still manly 165mm wrists. And the Fenix 7 Pro and the Epix Pro, they're pretty much the same watch, with the major difference being that screen technology, so that bright AMOLED screen on the Epix. So this should be a pretty good gauge for sizing if you're trying to get an idea on that. But here's what that 42mm size looks like on my wife's wrists. And I'll show you a 51mm option here on my wrist. This is the Garmin Enduro 2. Again, it would be extremely similar to an Epix other than the screen technology. So again, 3 sizes to choose from, which I know is gonna make a lot of you guys happy. And each of these sizes comes in a standard or a sapphire option. The sapphire lens should make this watch a little bit more durable, a little bit more resistant to scratches. And then those sapphire editions come with a titanium bezel and a titanium back plate. And the prices are the same as the previous editions, so that's $900 for the standard edition and $1,000 for the sapphire editions. But the 51mm actually costs an extra $100, so that's $1,000 for the standard 51mm and $1,100 for the sapphire edition of that size. And all of the versions have multi-band GPS, and they all have 32 gigs of internal memory. And the 42mm weighs about 63 grams or 58 grams if you buy the slightly lighter sapphire titanium edition. And then the 47mm that I have here, it's about 78 grams for the standard edition, or 70 grams or 72 grams for that sapphire edition. My scale is showing it at 72 grams. And then the 51mm size weighs in at 98 grams or 88 grams for that sapphire titanium edition. And each of these has a few different color options. The 42mm comes in a silver with white stone band, a soft gold with light sand band, and then the 47 comes in a carbon gray diamond-like coating titanium with a black band, or a slate gray with black band, and then the titanium whitestone band, which is what I'll be showing here in this video. And then the 51mm standard edition comes in that slate gray with a black band, and the sapphire edition comes in that carbon gray diamond-like coating titanium with a black band, and then the titanium with a whitestone band. And those colors, for the most part, are the same as Epix had in the past. For example, I have the previous version of the Epix here in that exact same white color. So if you're just glancing at these 2 watches, they do look extremely similar. There's only a few differences. For example, this Pro Edition now has this addition of a bright LED flashlight. You can see it right here on the front lip of the device. And I've said this before, having a flashlight on these devices is absolutely fantastic. It's not just, on bigger devices now. This flashlight also is on that 42mm size, and it's one of my favorite additions to this watch series. And to activate that flashlight, you just press the top left back button twice, and that'll turn it on as well as turn it off. And I'm measuring the brightness of this flashlight at about 16, 17 lux or so. When at full brightness, there's actually 4 different levels that you can choose from, and then there's a red color. And then just for reference to how bright that is, it's probably about half as bright as my iPhone 14 Pro flashlight. Now, another spot where you can distinguish the Pro from the previous model is if you flip the watch over and you take a look at the back watch. Obviously, engraved on the back of it, it'll say Pro, but above that is a brand new Elevate 5.0 heart rate sensor. And it's actually shaped a little bit different than previous models. It looks to me like instead of 2 LEDs, it now kind of has 6 LEDs, and hopefully that'll provide a little bit more of an evenly distributed light source when it is looking for your pulse. Now, the battery life is another spot that doesn't seem to have changed all that much on this watch. Remember that this is the exact same screen options, so you can set it to always on mode, or you can have it like light up via gesture mode, so raise your wrist to wake. So no surprise here that the battery life is pretty much the same across the board, but now that we have multiple sizes of the Epix, it's really easier to show you guys this via a chart, and you can feel free to pause the video here and take a closer look at the exact size that you might be interested in here, but I can only confirm that the always on mode will last about 6 days in my experience. And I'm doing about an hour of activity per day. So really lines up with what Garmin is showing here in this chart. The 51mm does have a significantly longer battery life because Garmin basically filled up all of that extra space behind the larger display with that bigger battery. Now, moving over to software, there are a few new features and metrics to talk about. The Epix Pro now has a redshift mode where the screen can actually display in red, and it can display all the different metrics. It's not tied to a particular watch face or anything like that, but the red is much better for evening activities or nighttime activities, and you can turn that on manually, or you can set it to turn the display to red at night, or set it per activity. Then there's a new hill score that'll rate your ability to run hills. It's looking at hill strength or short quick climbs, and it's also looking at hill endurance or how you handle longer climbs. And it does weight newer runs a little bit heavier than older runs, and it'll just build up a history of all of your hill climbing activities over the years and give you that hill climbing score. And then there's also a new endurance score. In some ways, it's kind of like Garmin's VO2 max estimation, but it's taking into account more information like your ability to resist fatigue, and it'll also provide you with training feedback based on that information. And this is a number that is really regardless of which sport type you're doing, but it will highlight what type of activities are contributing to that metric. And then there's new mapping details. You now have the option to display weather overlays on top of maps. And then topo maps now have a bit of shading to them that can really help distinguish between elevation on the maps. Here in this example, the left one doesn't have shading and the right one does. And then there's 2 new data layouts for maps. There's a split screen view, so half maps and half numerical data metrics, and then a perimeter layout where the data metrics are actually around the edges of the map. And Garmin also has a lot of new team sports activity types on these watches. Football, baseball, softball, soccer, basketball, racket sports, horseback riding. To me, some of these popular sports, it kind of seems surprising that Garmin is just now adding these to these watches. But importantly, all of these software features are going to make their way to previous models in future firmware updates. So anything that's not hardware dependent, so stuff like that hill score, that new endurance score, mapping, all the team activities, that's all going to make its way to the previous version of the Epix. Now, if we want to switch over and look at data accuracy, and in particular that new optical heart rate sensor, I think that this would be called Garmin's Elevate 5.0 optical heart rate sensor, but Garmin says that this new sensor design has improved signal quality due to an improved optical layout that integrates more spatially diverse optical sensors and sports-specific algorithms to give you an optimized performance. Now this is just a small data sample of really one particular person here, but I had a hard time teasing out that this new heart rate sensor is significantly better than the previous one, Garmin's Elevate 4.0 heart rate monitor system. And I've been constantly testing this while running and biking pretty much every single day since I've been using this for the past couple weeks. And I've been trying to compare it to old devices, as well as an ECG style chest strap, which is kind of the gold standard of heart rate accuracy. And sometimes I can see that the heart rate is a touch better. Still other times, I'd say that even this one is a little bit off. I'll put it this way. I'd say, I don't think that anyone should make a buying decision based on this one particular feature, this new optical heart rate monitor. And then with all of these activities, I've also been looking at GPS accuracy, and as you might guess, I've been seeing 0 issues on that front. The Epix Pro is among the most accurate GPS watches that I've ever tested here on this channel. I ran with it, I biked with it, and I didn't see any issues. And I even got the chance to do an open water swim with this watch, and I did my usual 1K open water testing protocol, where I have one watch above the water and a testing watch on either wrist. And in this case, the Epix Pro on the left wrist, the Apple Watch Ultra on the right wrist, Forerunner 255 on top of the buoy as I was pulling it, and the Epix Pro absolutely nails this swim. The Apple Watch Ultra does pretty well, but it does overcount the distance by about 1/10 of a kilometer. But overall, no worries here when it comes to GPS accuracy, even when it comes to the hard stuff. Now that brings us to buying suggestions. Is the Epix Pro a good watch? 100% absolutely, no doubt about it. It's a fantastic watch. And now that it comes in multiple sizes, I do think a lot of people are going to opt for this very nice, high-end, do everything GPS sports watch with a beautiful display. But if you own the previous version of the Epix, I personally don't think that you should feel obligated to upgrade. Yes, the watch is great. Yes, the flashlight is amazing. The new optical heart rate sensor, I'd say it's a modest upgrade at best. And then the software, all that software is gonna trickle down to the previous models anyway. So I think it's a good idea to save money where you can. But those are just a few of my thoughts on this brand new Epix Pro. And of course, I'd much rather hear from you guys. Is this a watch you're interested in? Would you upgrade? Let me know in the comment section and we can continue the discussion down there. And I'll also try to find you guys the best price I can find on this particular watch, and I'll put that link or whatever I can find in the description of this video, as well as pin a comment to the top of the comment section. But either way, be sure that you guys are getting out there, swimming, biking, running, rinsing, and repeating it all over again. And we will see you guys on the next one.